Your back pain may be coming from a system that almost nobody talks about, but we're going to talk about it right now, and that is the nervous system. So let me give you a little bit of a demonstration of what the hell I mean when I'm talking about the nervous system as it relates to back pain. When we think about your nervous system, we just want to think about your brain and your spinal cord, both of which need to send signals into your muscles in order to contract and create movement, right? So if we sit with the CNS at the top here, in order to produce movement, we send a signal from the brain and the spinal cord down into the muscles, or the muscular system. From there, we send it into the passive or appendicular system, so we will call this the joints, the fascia, all the sort of passive stuff. So the muscles act on the bones, pulling them across joints in order to create, again, to finish off, movement. Right, so at all of these levels, the CNS is the controller or the creator of movement to begin with. Whether we want to pick something off the ground, get walking, stay sitting for a long time, stay standing for a long time, the thing that's mediating all of that activity and our back pain is going to be coming from information arriving at the nervous system. So what can also happen is after we've had an injury or back pain, one of the things that can keep us in a state of discomfort is that the information coming back into your nervous system may end up being spotty. There might be gaps there. So for instance, if we have damage to our muscle system or something around our joints, we can have these gaps appear in the information returning back to the nervous system. As a result, this area up here is always processing information before it produces any movement. If we look at other sensory inputs, we've also got things like vision, smell, touch, our vestibular system, so balance and things like that. All our different senses are also coming in to our nervous system. We need to utilize and process all that information before we produce any movement at this very end of the chain. So if some of this information coming in up here as well, maybe we've had a concussion or a head knock, maybe during the back activity, we've had previous injuries which also affect these. All of a sudden, the output that we're going to be getting is again also going to have their own gaps. In other words, we're going to start to create compensations or different pathways which are suboptimal in order to produce the same movement. Put another way, imagine that you have a total number of available movements to pick up an object off the ground. Okay, so let's just say, to keep it really simple, there's 100 ways to pick up an object off the ground. There's 100 total possible variations for how your muscles could contract in order to pick that thing off of the ground. Okay, so in this case, we're going to call this your state of A. We've got 100 possible ways, the total number available in order to pick something off the ground. Now, we have an injury, so our nervous system isn't receiving the same information. When it's not receiving the right information that it needs, it's going to take protective action, and it's going to reduce this total number of available actions. So maybe in this case, we're all of a sudden going down to 60. And we have another injury, and another thing occurs. All of a sudden, the nervous system is going down to a much smaller number, and we've only got 30 possible ways to pick up that object. Now, all of a sudden, because we've only got a limited number of ways to do the same movement, now we're more likely to overload tissues and reproduce the same problems that we begin to experience. Our body is no longer allowing us to move through its full range of function, and therefore we're going to start to compensate in a way that the body is going to become overloaded and again likely lead us back to a point of pain and discomfort. This is a system that is going on at all times, and this is something that almost nobody talks about. This is where I see a lot of injuries and flare-ups occurring, is because of exactly this. The injury may have healed, but our nervous system has not returned our body back to state A, So it has not returned us back to that full possible range of movements, which again just means that we try to exercise through something. And this is no slight against exercise. It's a big part of recovery. But in some cases, exercise can again be us trying to brute force through a nervous system that is feeling unsafe about those actions. And again, this is where the unfortunate event can occur where someone's doing the right things, they're trying to rehab themselves out of an issue, but because they've got this limited number of movements available right now, they're much more likely to generate a flare from performing the exercise that they're doing. So this is a largely unknown system amongst the many body systems that exist that can really influence your back pain. And I hope this has given you a good insight into a different way of modeling out what might be contributing to your back pain. The things you can look to do about it is you to look at introducing systems into your daily routine in order to make your nervous system feel safe and reintegrated. Some of the simple stuff is there's lots of breathing techniques out of there. There's ways to get your body into rest and digest. There's ways that you want to maximize your sleep and your nutrition. Ways that you want to allow the body to simply provide more safety cues and reintegration. Gentle movements, isometric exercises. There are ways that you can start to reintegrate your nervous system to feel safe about movements. The main system that I end up using is the Square One system, which was created by Sean Sherman. Fantastic system in order to try and return our nervous system back to state A, where we can regain our total number of available movements and therefore be less likely to overload and go back down the same movement patterns that generate pain for us in the first place. So be really interested to know if this is the first time that you've heard about this system and how it can play a part in back pain. And I hope this has given you a bit of an insight. So I will continue to do these videos and we'll see you on the next one.